She wore no clothes. None at all. Just skin. Damp with dew. And shimmering in the moonlight. She didn't hide. Didn't seek eyes on her. But anyone who saw her could no longer breathe, no longer think. You'd say, a fairy tale. No. A nymph. Alive. Wild. Too real for dreams. In this video, you'll discover why men forgot their names in her presence. How a single sway of her hips rewrote everything you thought you knew about desire. And what happens when a woman isn't just a woman, but desire itself, given form. Watch to the end, because you're already in it. And she knows. There were 3 of them. Sometimes 5. And sometimes just 1. And that was enough to make your heart unravel. They were nothing. No fabric, no adornments. Nature dressed them in light, wind, and the wet glint of dew. They moved like no one ever could. Not hurried. Not graceful. But as if their bodies were a language, spoken only at night. When no one watches. When everything is allowed. Their hips, soft, full, firm, traced circles you could step into and never leave. Their breasts rose and fell with their breath, yet felt heavy. They called, not with flesh, but with rhythm. And that rhythm was closer to the earth than any words could be. They danced barefoot. Heels brushed moss. Knees bent. Backs arched under the moon. Hair lashed bare shoulder blades, wet, heavy, smelling of forest. Each movement was a challenge. Each turn, an invitation. But you didn't know if they called to you alone. And that's why you were already lost in it. You couldn't breathe. Because they didn't breathe, they resonated. Their bodies were music. Not vocal. But skin deep. The trees trembled. Not from wind. But because this dance held something. Too alive. Too wild. Too feminine. She had no need for clothes. The moon did all the work. When she appeared, you heard no footsteps. Only the crunch of grass. And the tightening inside you. Her skin gleamed. Not from sweat, not from water. But from the night itself. As if the air held her so close. It began to melt on her body. Light fell on her carefully. First along her collarbones. Then down her stomach. Then between curves you had no right to touch. But could no longer unsee. She didn't walk. She flowed. As if her legs glided. Her hips swaying to their own rhythm. Not for you. But you already felt that rhythm inside you. Her back caught the moonlight and gave it back to the forest. Everything around her seemed to pause. No one dared interrupt. Not the beasts. Not the night. Not you. A nymph's body didn't hide. Didn't conceal. It simply existed, in its purest form. Without shame. Without plea. Without defense. You looked. And didn't know whether to keep looking. Or if it was already too late. And she just stood there. Chest bare, hair damp. Eyes holding no hint of prohibition. Only permission. You couldn't touch her. But standing near her, you already knew how she'd feel. She didn't touch first. She simply passed by. And the air behind her stayed warm. As if her skin left a trace in the space. But if you did touch her, by accident, or too boldly, you met neither resistance nor submission, but something that made your palm linger longer than you'd planned. Her skin was like warm honey. Soft. Sticky. Sweet, but not cloying. Somewhere beneath it, a pulse. Beating faster than yours. You ran your hand down her back. And felt a current spark under your fingers. It traveled up. Through your arm. Into your shoulder. Your chest. And straight to your core. Down. Deeper. She didn't moan. But her body responded. Subtly. Barely noticeable. As if teasing. You want more? Try to take it. If you dare. Some tried. They kissed her shoulder. And met a gaze. That burned hotter than the kiss itself. She didn't belong to anyone. But she might allow it. For a moment. For a touch. For a shiver. And that was enough. To make you want to stay. And never touch another. You could cover your ears. You could turn away from her body. But if you caught her gaze, it was already too late. She didn't look at your face. She looked deeper. To that place inside you. You'd forgotten existed. It wasn't a gaze seeking approval. It wasn't tenderness. It was power. Worn in her eyes. She didn't play with her eyes. She held you with them. As if your will now rested in her hands. Men lost their words when she looked straight on. Because it felt like she knew about you. About how you looked at her body. About what you wanted. About what was already stirring below. But she said nothing. And that was scarier. Her gaze didn't offer. It stated a fact. You already want her. You're already in. You're already hers. And if you thought you could be in control, look at her again. You're not steering. You're a passenger. And she's leading. To a place you've never been. And might not return from. A nymph's body couldn't be captured in words. Because while you searched for them, you'd already forgotten what you meant to say. It wasn't perfect. It was right. For touching. For looking. For desire that doesn't ask permission. It simply arises. Her back began at her neck. Slowly, smoothly. Flowing down. To where everything dangerous begins. Her hips weren't too wide. But just wide enough to want to hold on. When she started to move. She didn't move for you. But you were already bound to her. With your whole body. With every pulse. When she raised her arms. You felt heat. Though you stood a meter away. When she arched. Something inside you groaned. Silently. Shamefully. But honestly. Her body didn't promise. It showed. What you'd never fully have. But could never walk away from. Men didn't lose themselves. They surrendered. Because they realized. In this trap. It feels impossibly good. She didn't call you by name. She didn't whisper, "Come." But you felt it. In your chest, below your stomach. That she already needed you. You could stand aside. Stay silent. Resist. But when she leaned forward. Tossed her hair. Brushed past you. You knew that was her call. Not with words. With warmth. With scent. With the sway of her hip. She didn't pull you by the hand. But you followed. Because something inside you was already moving. You sensed. That if you stepped closer. She wouldn't say yes. But she wouldn't refuse either. A nymph didn't take the first step. She made a movement. A hint. The shadow of a hint. And that was enough to land you somewhere, with no way back. You were inside. In her circle. In her rhythm. In her body, mentally. So intensely that your body no longer knew if it was imagination or reality. And she just stood there, slightly turned, breathing slowly, slightly damp, slightly not yours, but entirely around you. No one chained them. No one locked them up. No one held them back. They could leave. Say enough. Take a step away. But no one left. Because you can't abandon what you've dissolved into. With a nymph, there were no promises. No love, no tomorrow, no I need you. Only her body. Slow, soft, burning. Only her skin. Still scented with night. Only her voice. Empty of words. But you heard everything. Men stayed. Lay beside her. Watched her fall asleep. Watched her chest rise and fall. Watched light play along her curves. And they understood. This wasn't a woman. This was an experience. A memory. You didn't want to heal from. They didn't perish. They forgot why they'd lived before her. And even if they left, their body stayed behind. In her circle. In her fingers. In that final shiver. When she touched. Not your flesh. But your desire. She doesn't leave. She simply fades into the grass. Merges with the wind. Dissolves into shadow. Leaving behind something sticky, sweet, and warm inside you. A nymph isn't a name. Not a body. Not a story. It's a moment. When you look and stop breathing. When you touch and don't want to let go. When all you need is in one curve of her hip. One soft turn of her head. One gaze that already holds you. You can walk away. You can forget. You can tell no one. But she'll stay. In your fingers. In your breath. In those nights when you wake burning and no one's there. Some women live outside. But ones like her live within. And if you've watched to the end, you know there's no escaping her now.